Hello, everyone. This is your girl Dupsy, and welcome back to She Means Business, the podcast for sharp entrepreneurs, bold thinkers, and serious business builders. Today, we are talking about Funke Akindele's film Behind the Scenes, the blockbuster that has made waves at the Nigerian box office, and what that really tells us about the true potential of Nollywood. Now, let's set the record straight with real numbers. Funke Akindele's latest film, Behind the Scenes, has grossed over 2 billion naira at the Nigerian box office. That's no longer news, making it one of the biggest hits in 2025. It's been confirmed as the highest grossing Nollywood film of the year so far. Now that is big, but it doesn't tell the full story of what Nollywood could be. Because if we look at the numbers, the real numbers, the global numbers, the industry logic, 2 billion naira, while impressive, hardly captures the full potential of Nollywood. Now, before you come for me, watch this episode to the end. Right? There's what we call the power of numbers. And infrastructure matters. Now, let's start with the facts on cinema screens. The very infrastructure that enables large box office returns. In China, there are around 65,000 cinema screens, far more than any other nation. The United States follows with over 35,000 screens. India has nearly 12,000 screens. And these numbers, of course, are from industry data, comparing global cinema markets. And by contrast, according to This Day Life, in Nigeria, as of late 2023 to 2024, we had less than 100 cinema locations and about 300 screens nationwide. A pathetic number for a population of over 200 million people, producing more films than nearly every other country. Even in Anglophone West Africa, Nigeria accounts for roughly 92% of all cinema screens. But that's still only a few hundred screens in total. All right. Now, let's put this in perspective. China and the US have hundreds of times more screens than Nigeria. Even India's film capital leverages a screen count to generate massive box office returns. What does that mean? What does that mean? It means you can only make money from an audience you can reach. If you don't have enough screens or enough ways to bring your film to all the people in your country, then even a blockbuster can't reach its full revenue potential. That's the truth. So, what does 2 billion naira actually say about Nollywood? Before anyone says, oh, that's huge, we need the broader context. Nigeria's cinema pulled in something like 1.8 million pounds. That's like roughly 1 billion naira in first quarter of 2025. That's up about a many percentage from the previous year. Now, compare that with China's box office, which has billions of dollars in revenue annually, thanks to massive local demand and huge screen capacity. The truth is, 2 billion naira in total, or rather in total revenue for a hit film in Nigeria, does not reflect the population's real spending power. It reflects limited distribution points. Even though Akindele tried, she spent money on marketing, she tried. She tried. Now, the real problem is limited infrastructure. Limited infrastructure translates to what? Limited money. One of the biggest constraints in Nigeria is simply lack of reach. Think of it like selling water in a desert with just a few taps. Demand exists. Millions of Nigerians watch Nollywood on TV. They watch on mobile phones. They watch on social media. They watch at home. But how many are able to pay to watch at the cinema? When we compare Nigeria with China or the US, all right, cinema screens per million people in the US is in the double digits. In China, cinema expansion has been so aggressive that it even overtook the US for sheer screen count in recent years. That's according to industry data as well. In Nigeria, it's single digit per million population, and that's far too few to actualize broad mass monetization. All right, all this accurate data from this day life. I'm putting this day life. All right. Now, this tells us two things. Demand exists. Opportunity is being lost because distribution isn't wide enough. So, what must we learn from Hollywood and China? Let's talk strategy here. In the US, before films go international, they almost always make their money domestically first. And how is that? They have thousands of screens in every state, almost every state. There's continuous marketing all year round. Films are released throughout the calendar, not just in December like we do in Nigeria. There are premium experiences, there are loyalty programs, there are community engagements. In China, local films like Neza 2, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it well, has hit over 15 billion yen. Partly because screens are plentiful, let me use that word, and audiences have choices inside the country alone. Now, what is the key business lessons for Nollywood? All right, the real message for businesses, for filmmakers and creatives that are listening is this. Number one, expand your reach. Distribution is strategy. You must think beyond Lagos and Abuja now, or even Port Harcourt. You must find ways to bring films to the people everywhere. Let your films get to regions, states, local communities. This includes non-traditional venues. I remember telling a friend sometimes back that we need more cinemas in the country, and she almost insulted me. She said, what do I know? That she sits with the powers that be. She sits with the industry experts. So she knows it won't work. I said, imagine. Just look at this one, right? I also remember talking to a guy from a finance house. I'm not going to mention the name of the finance house. I spoke to him about building more cinemas. And he told me it's too expensive to build an IMAX cinema, that it will cost around 1 to 2 billion. Uncle is asking you to build an IMAX cinema. I told him for every mega refinery, for example, there are modular refineries. There are smaller ones with smaller capacities. The same thing goes for cinema screens. Let there be smaller screens, cost-effective ones, almost in every corner, and let the distribution be controlled, of course, to forestall piracy, so they won't have access to it, and then you pirate. Let there be pop-ups. Let there be touring exhibitions. Who said filmmakers cannot campaign like politicians? Let there be community cinemas, partnerships with schools, with malls. Build year-round engagement. Stop treating films like a once-in-a-year festive event or a once-in-a-year festive activity. Release films all through the calendar. January, March, May, July, October. Spread it. Keep the audience interacting with cinema culture. Always think word of mouth, loyalty programs, engagement campaigns, freebies. And again, cinema owners must be marketers too. Cinema exhibitors, they can't just open doors when films arrive. They must advertise cinema experiences, offer incentives, offer loyalty points, offer discounts, value combos, build strong local community presence. The point is, tell the story of cinema, not just show films. I remember going to the cinema in the mid-80s for Paugunde films. Yes. Ade love films. Ade love, whatever. I watched Taxi Driver in a cinema. Baba Salah films on Umoru. I watched it in a cinema. Imagine. The culture has always been there. Let's continue to build on it. Now, what is the future of Nollywood? Funke Akindele didn't just make a hit again. Yeah. She gave us a lesson. Imagine 4 to 5 movies in a row, exceeding targets. What is she doing differently? She knows how to build buzz. She knows how to create buzz. She knows how to distribute beyond Nigeria, even though the Nigerian market is large enough to bring in hundreds of billions. Trust me. She tapped diaspora markets, UK, US, Europe. She marketed strategically. That's business savvy. That is business savvy. And we should study that. We should learn that and replicate. But the bigger game is bringing that same energy inside the country. Inside the country. Imagine what happens when Nigeria has hundreds more screens, thousands more screens. Imagine 20 million people going to the cinema to watch films at 8,000 naira, for example. Please do the maths. My calculator is exhausted. 20 million people is less than 10% of our population. Do you get the picture I'm painting? Do you get my point? Imagine every Nigerian state having active cinemas. Imagine films are marketed all year round. Imagine box office hits becoming normal, not surprises. Then, my friends, Nigeria's box office won't be measured in billions of naira. It will be measured in tens and hundreds of billions. Because when you leverage population, strength, that is when business explodes. Producers and actors will be so rich. Paying royalties will be possible. Actors will be well paid. And crew will also they'll be well paid, not peanuts. The film industry actors will collectively be prosperous. We should celebrate achievements like 2 billion, yes, but we should not be satiated by them. True celebration will come when our industry earns in tens or hundreds of billions from our own people, year in, year out. That is leverage. That's business, real business. That's real business. And that's the conversation for today on She Means Business. If this episode made you think differently, then it has fulfilled its purpose. It has fulfilled its potential. All right, business is not about noise. It's about understanding systems. It's about making informed decisions. It's about positioning yourself for growth. If you are serious about building, if you're serious about scaling, or simply understanding how money and opportunities really work in Nigeria, make sure you subscribe, follow, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. And please, let's give Funke Akindele her flowers. I love when people know how to think outside the box or smash the box even. And she's a woman. So until next time, think smart, think and build intentionally, and remember, she means business, and so do you. See you next week. Thank you.